All right, Thursday, February 25th edition of the Carolina Weather Video. That big dynamic severe weather producing system continuing to pull far away. I'm going to show you a lot about that system and take a look at what's ahead in our weather here as we go into the medium and long range in today's edition of the video. Let me start off with a pretty interesting time lapse from yesterday in Charlotte. It was pretty fascinating to watch the wedge erode yesterday. Locations just north of the warm front began the day and spent a lot of the morning socked in with fog, and then as that warm front lifted through, you could literally watch the fog erode. That happened in Charlotte just prior to the beginning of this time lapse. But then as you went into the afternoon, there came that big round of thunderstorms right there. There it went, moving on through. And then you wound up with a very windy but kind of pleasant afternoon in terms of sky conditions, and then temperatures really began to drop last night. All right, let's check some social media images. Tragic severe weather day yesterday. That is that tornado up near Evergreen, Virginia. A massive looking tornado there. North Carolina, plenty of problems with severe weather yesterday. There's the tornado that, likely tornado that occurred near Stovall, North Carolina yesterday. And then behind all that, this is an image I was able to snap of a double rainbow behind all the activity yesterday. And the southern Piedmont looking good. Had a nice double rainbow evident there behind the departing activity yesterday. Yesterday, temperatures were able to significantly warm as that warm front moved north of the region. And these are the actual recorded high temperatures from yesterday. It made it all the way up to 80 in Columbia. 76, the high temperature yesterday in Fayetteville and Wilmington, 73 in Raleigh and Greenville, 71 over in Cape Hatteras, around the Triad area. There's your specific highs from yesterday. Certainly a very, very warm weather setup. Well, I actually didn't put the Triad specific highs, but certainly it ended up being a very warm weather setup across the region. Temperatures this morning, low and mid 40s, winds pretty significant out there as the day is beginning. There's your current sustained winds across the region, higher gusts. Look at that. That is a 41 mile per hour sustained wind as I cut the video up in Boone. Wind gusts currently up into the 50s up that way. And it is going to be another pretty windy day. There's Futurecast, the wind product today, showing you pretty gusty winds throughout the day. And then those winds do relax a pretty good bit for us as we head on into this evening. All right, this was the radar presentation as we went through late morning and then through the remainder of the afternoon into the evening hours. Massive round of severe weather caused all kinds of problems across the region as we went through the late morning into the evening hours yesterday. Just a tragic severe weather day. Look at the amazing volume of severe weather reports across the region. An incredibly active day. And again, a number of people tragically lost their lives. 3 fatalities by the official local storm report near Waverly, Virginia, with that tornado. And again, thankfully, at this point, no fatality reports across most of North Carolina. And that's not finalized yet, but at least to my knowledge at this point, that's the correct information. But you had a ton of reports in the Charlotte and the Greensboro regions, reports like that. Trees and power lines down. The tornadic activity really began to ramp up as you got over toward Raleigh and the Sandhills and points north and east from there. Today, a much quieter weather day. Now, it will be pretty breezy. You do have wind advisories up for various parts of the region. I showed you the wind product earlier, and earlier in the hour, you had severe thunderstorm warnings even up in Maine and eastern Massachusetts. Pretty rare, certainly rare in February. With that same system that moved through our area yesterday. On the backside, there's a snow flying in the Ohio Valley. Some of that snow continues to pivot into the mountain areas. Winter weather advisories up for the mountains. And it'll be a pretty decent little snow event that continues today and into tonight and tomorrow. Some of the favored northwest-facing slopes might pick up 5 or 6 inches of snow as the chillier air moves back in. Now, we'll have a pretty breezy day on the backside of that big departing low pressure. Mountain snow continuing out in the Piedmont, though just a dry day and a cool day. Your highs in the low and mid-50s, maybe some upper 50s toward the Sandhills. High pressure building into the region. That's a cool high pressure. That'll be the main weather player for us tomorrow and Saturday before it gets offshore and allows some milder air in here starting Sunday. But there's your highs tomorrow. Saturday's high temperature still a bit on the cool side, and then a pretty nice warm-up begins on Sunday, and the warming trend continues from there. Might even hit 70 in some spots again by the middle part of next week before the next big system arrives. Now, let me kind of step you through a couple things. Again, first of all, before I move on, well, that was weird, but either way, before we move on, there's the total storm report map from yesterday. 339 wind reports, 19 tornado reports. Now, that's not 19 tornadoes. That is 19 reports of tornadoes that have come in. We'll get all the storm surveys completed over the next day or two. Basically, around 400 total storm reports, and that's just day 2 of that big 2-day round of severe weather across the region. Let's look ahead, though. First of all, as we look at today, notice the pressure gradient pretty tight. That's your isobars that are packed pretty tightly around the region. And the reason is you have that big, strong low pressure departing through the northeast, high pressure over the plains, and the difference in pressure between those two features causing these pretty gusty winds across the region today. Now, as you get deeper into the forecast period, this is the look by late Sunday. That high pressure down toward the Bahamas and the western Atlantic. That is a southwesterly flow across the southeast, bringing in milder air. And then we get out toward the middle part of next week. This is Wednesday evening on the GFS. This was a 0Z run, low pressure in northern Kentucky, trailing cold front. Some instability tries to work in and bring some additional thunderstorm chances. On the European model, let's take a look. Big cutoff low over Arkansas Wednesday evenings. The European a little slower with this than the GFS. You go out to 192. Potent upper level low in Kentucky and Tennessee that then lifts up into the northeastern part of the country. Now, the surface, you end up with a solution like that on the last night's run of the European model. That's again a thunderstorm setup for Thursday. The Canadian model, fairly similar. I'm sorry, there's the new GFS. That is the 60 run just in. Similar to the scenario of that low pressure moving well northwest of us, putting us in the warm sector. And then finally, there's your Canadian solution. This is valid Thursday of next week. Shower and thunderstorm chances. There's pretty good indications of a storm system, certainly, in the Wednesday, Thursday, and into Friday time period next week, somewhere in there. You look at the ensemble mean on the European model, it might indicate more of a colder storm track. We'll see. We'll continue to evaluate that one. The Canadian model also has that decent signal for a storm, but it's not as pronounced as the European ensemble mean, where you have a kind of a position right around there being indicated on the ensemble mean position. So we'll see as we get toward later next week. And finally, before I wrap up the video here, let's look at the Canadian ensemble mean 5,000 foot temperatures, deviation from average. That's a pretty cold setup Friday and Saturday of next week. And not brutally cold, but certainly chilly. And a little reinforcing shot of colder air then around the 7th or 8th of March. Tries to move into the easternmost part of the country. So we're not done with the cold air yet, but we will get a nice milder stretch of weather again, I think, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday prior to that next system. And then we'll have to see exactly what track that system takes, whether it's a thunderstorm threat or maybe a chilly rain threat, or we'll see as we get deeper into next week. All right, that's it for today's edition of the video. Everybody,